Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are watching in the world. My name is Sean Driver, and this is yet another in the series, the Do We Hate You series, where we take a look at the League Two teams playing in the EFL, rivals. We consider, what do we know about you? Do we like you? Where are you? How are you? And so, Tranmere, you're up in short order, actually, given the time it's taken to put this video away. So the question is, welcome to the Red Horde. I'm going to have to apologize right out from the outset. This is put together relatively quickly. It's just been a crazy week, personally, professionally. One of those things trying to get at it. So we're 5 hours before game time. I'm going to try and do it in one take, and it'll be what it'll be. And sorry to Tranmere if you're looking forward to something special, I guess. But let's get into it. Tranmere Rovers FC, the Rovers. Location, Birkenhead, Merseyside, across the River Mersey from Liverpool. Suburb there of a suburb of a suburb. Birkenhead, I guess you could consider maybe a suburb of Liverpool. Sure. Just across the river, that's the largest city. And then you've got Tranmere as a suburb within Birkenhead. So that's 88,818 in Birkenhead, 12,000-ish in Tranmere itself. The stadium, Prenton Park, not going to do the Google Earth thing, don't have time, don't have the desktop, but there's Prenton Park, opened 1912, renovated in 1995. Capacity 16,567. Last year, Tranmere pulled in 6,142 on average, which put them 10th in League Two. Distance away from the racecourse, this is a close one, 30 miles, 48 kilometers. That's about a 40-minute drive, which is why some people have been calling it a derby, a good old-fashioned derby. I don't know if it has a name. It is what it is. I know for Tranmere fans that have been following along on Twitter, they have been heated. It's kind of interesting. Wrexham fans don't seem to care. Tranmere fans are taking this very seriously. It'll be interesting to see what happens. But in any event, turnover 5,479,451, according to the Companies House, which makes Tranmere one of the smaller clubs. As far as the club itself, Tranmere was formed in 1884 as Belmont. Its name changed to Tranmere the year after. They were placed into the EFL's third division North, so that's before. That's when they had two divisions, the North and the South, for the third division. They won in 1937-38. They advanced to the second division, and then were immediately relegated, falling down to the fourth division by 1961. They went up and down from there between those two divisions, promotions, relegations, until they reached the second tier in the 90s. And then they started their tumble back down, and 13 years they spent in the third year before back-to-back relegations in 2014, 2015, 2015, 2016, and that put them in the National League outside of the EFL. They spent 3 years there in the National League, followed with back-to-back promotions. So National League up to League Two up to League One, and then they had a relegation, so they're back into League Two, the fourth tier. Up and down they go, and they've been in the fourth tier now. This will be their fourth season. The kit, all white, the Super Whites, sometimes occasionally with blue trim. They seem to have that this year. Blue and green trim, I guess. The away kit this year is black, and it looks like there's a military Navy ship geometrical graphical pattern thing going on. I think if they wanted to make it a military homage, they could have done a little bit better, maybe just some simple embossing, but hey, it is what it is. Because of that, I'm just going to give them an average score on their kit. The bookie odds have them placed at the start of the season in 11th. That's a middle third club. As far as how they've performed so far this year in the EFL Cup, let's just go through that because we've had 2 games. They were knocked out in the second round by Leicester City after beating Barnsley, which is a League One side, in the first round. In the league, they're presently sitting in 21st. That's just with 1 win and 4 losses. They had a loss to Barrow at home, 2-1. Unlucky, according to the analytics, that predicted that they should have probably eked out a win on that one, or at least a draw. A loss to the MK Dons away, 1-0. Again, unlucky. Analytics suggested there that they should have won. They did win against Harrogate at home, 3-0. According to the analytics, that was a fair result, just barely, with a win at least. A loss at home then to Salford City, 4-3. Analytics said they're unlucky. They potentially should have won. And then a loss to Notts County away 2-1, which the analytics say fair result, but you follow subjectively with Twitter, and a lot of people think that Notts County was fortunate to take away the 3 points. Anyways, just generally statistically, they're giving up more than the league average in goals, but they're also scoring more than average. So this could be a game full of fireworks. Lots of goals. The way that Wrexham's been playing, minus the last 2 games potentially, you might see a number of goals here. Stats so far this season, again, above average in shots, just below average possession. Subjectively, you listen to the podcast and you hear people describe Tranmere as full of above average players, that they've done relatively well in getting some competent talent in this year, but perhaps that the gaffer is below average and they're just not seeming to gel. And that's why a lot of people have the gaffer as the odds-on favorite to win the first fired sweepstakes. So last match against Wrexham, January 27, 2018 in the National League. That was a 2-2 draw at home in the racecourse in front of 8,471. That year, that was the year that Tranmere got promoted through the playoffs. Wrexham finished 10th. As far as connections to Wrexham, Paul Mullins, the obvious, 42 games over 2 seasons in 2018-2020. He helped Tranmere take out Premier team Watford in the 3rd round of the FA Cup in 2020. He scored a penalty in the first one, and then in the replay was able to score in extra time when they won. After that, he shortly joined Cambridge United, and then ultimately, of course, we know he's with us. The others going the other way, Connor Jennings played 86 games for Wrexham, 20 goals between 2014 and 2015. Last year, Tranmere 12th place, 15 wins, 13 draws, 18 losses for 58 points. 5 losses in the first 8 right out of the gate, and even though they strung some wins together immediately thereafter, they were sort of in the middle to the bottom of the pack, and they just weren't able to pull themselves out of that. They average 1.6 goals per season, 2.3 at home. The challenge, they're conceding above average as well, and so nearly a goal per season more than last year so far. So they're scoring, but they're giving up compared to last year. So the gaffer, we talked about him, Ian Dawes of Liverpool. He actually played in Canada for a stint for a team in Calgary that no longer exists. Had some lower tier football before transitioning. When I say lower tier, like 7th, 8th tier, before he transitioned into coaching. He was an academy coach in Liverpool for about 10 years before he went overseas to Malta and then subsequently to Wales, to Bangor City, which is one of the oldest clubs in Wales, but is currently suspended for non-payment of wages. They did try to apply to get into a lower tier. They were denied. He, in any event, after Bangor City, he went to Tranmere as an assistant, then he became a joint caretaker, then he became the caretaker, and now he's the full-time manager. So, again, I've mentioned the subjective reviews. Seem to be a lot of people that are questioning his capacity, thinking that there should be more coming out of the players and the talent that are there. So, hopefully they continue to struggle. That's what we're hoping for this time around, and see where we're at. As to the additions, last season, goal scoring was a struggle for Tranmere, so they went out and they got some forwards. Luke Norris, 30 from Stevenage, Christian Dennis, 33 from Carlisle. They also returned Connor Jennings from Hartlepool. And in addition to that, Luke McGee and net from Forest Green Rovers, and Regan Hendry, who they got back, who I understand was on a loan. He's a 25-year-old who was at FGR, and he's with them now. Just going to jump into what we can potentially expect from the players here. And in the forward position, midfield or defense, there's a couple of players that we're going to see them. I'd say there's 6 players that you might as well just pencil them in now. I haven't seen it. Up for the forwards, that's going to be Connor Jennings. He, despite their other signings of Norris and Dennis, Tranmere statesman, I can call him a statesman. I guess he's been there for more than a season. Has 508 minutes played so far. He's had 140 games there between 2016 and 2020. He sort of returned around from bouncing around last year with, and he's got a goal and an assist so far. He's not doing horrible, but you'd expect with those sorts of minutes that you'd like to see a little bit more production. But he's the steady, the constant up front. Well, you'll see him there. As to who may be running with him, well, there's a lot of options. There's obviously, we've gone over Norris and Dennis. Dennis is 33. He's got 344 minutes. He's chipped in a goal. Norris, you're going to find a pattern here as far as the goals, but Norris, 302 minutes. He's got a goal, but he's also chipped in 2 assists. Sam Taylor, they've got a 19-year-old who's had 333 minutes, and he's also got a goal. I suggest that the statistics say they may want to look a little bit longer at Josh Harkes, 24. He's not only leading the way with 2 goals in 292 minutes, which puts him in the top 90 for scoring, but he's also got the conversion rate, obviously, that's going there, but some stats that put him, sort of average, but compared to the rest, he's looking like he may be the better option as far as the analytics go. So we'll see who we end up getting, whether Hawks again comes off the bench late in the game to try and bring something with his legs. There's another player, Charlie Jolie, who's 22. He's got 120 minutes, and he's potted a goal as well. So 8 goals that sort of spread out between them. Connor Jennings leading the way, but you'd expect that with 508 minutes played. And actually, he's not leading the way. Hawks is leading the way with 2. Connor's leading the way with his goal and assist and minutes. So midfielders, again, 2 constant steadies that are there. Regan Hendry, 25, 624 minutes, creating lots of chances. He's got good numbers, key passes, successful crosses, expected assists, all are in the top 20% of the league. He doesn't have the greatest defensive stats, but as an offensive midfielder, he's certainly been there to create and sort of stir the drink for everybody coming from the midfield forward. The other one that I'd expect to see in the lineup, Kieran Morris, 29. He's got 547 minutes so far. Steady, but not really impressive. He's got okay crosses. He's got bad passing. His completion rate's just not there. He is a little bit better than Hendry defensively, but so I suspect he may be the defensive midfielder role. And then you'll have to see who you had there. They've had Lee O'Connor, which I think as far as Tom O'Connor and Elliot Lee, the Lee O'Connor thing is going to be potentially confusing tomorrow watching the game. But better defensive stats than probably the others who have got a cup of coffee with his in the 200-minute range. He's just not really putting things together with his passing and his crossing. So he may draw into the game. Josh Hawks is another one who's been playing for them, 24, 292 minutes, and Reese McClear, 21 years old with 167 minutes. Both of them essentially have the same sort of stats. Not impressive, limited successful crosses. They're passing okay, but really there's nothing there to speak to. So they'll have those 2 certain midfielders, Hendry, Morris, and we'll see who they end up adding in addition to that. As far as their defenders, again, we're going to see 2 for sure. Tom Davies, 630 minutes, he's 31, clearly the best of the bunch. When we talk about the defenders and you compare their defense, Tom Davies is their best. He's exceptionally strong in the aerial duels. He's got good passing coming out of the back. His clearances are there. After that, there's a pretty significant drop. Even though Jordan Turnbull at 540 minutes, the 28-year-old, he doesn't have anywhere near the strength in the aerial duels that Davies had. His clearances haven't been there as well. So he'll get a lot of minutes. The third on the list who's been getting a lot of minutes, young Jake Leake, 20. Again, not a lot of stats to draw on from this year. Last year, because he's so young, not a lot there. But so far this season, he just nothing glaring that says he's horrible, nothing amazing that says he's above average. He's just sort of a middle of the pile center or middle of pile defender, and we'll see what he has to offer. The other one who's getting some minutes, Joseph Yarney, he's 25, 296 minutes. The problem with him, his statistics are about the same as Jake Leake, but he's been on for a lot. His goals per 90 minutes is at 3 goals per 90. That's 1.3 goals higher than everybody else. So the stats don't show anything redeeming. He's on there for a lot of goals. I guess maybe if we're looking to see a name that we want to see, Yarney's probably the one, which because I said that, probably means he's going to have an exceptional game. So in goal, they've been cutting it pretty clear. The old Pitbull, I guess, 42 years of age, Joe Murphy, he's had all of the cup competition matches, and Luke McGee, 450 minutes, all of the league matches. We'll see what ends up happening there, but let's call Luke McGee. It's sort of predictable, right? And when you're looking at Tranmere, this is hopefully the start of a run for Wrexham. You don't want to say that on any given Saturday you've got 3 points in the bag. I don't want to insult Tranmere. They've been performing exceptionally poorly based on their numbers, but their analytics say they should be winning. So they're in it. They've had a bad stretch of run. We're going to have to still be on our best game, despite the fact that they've got some holes, it seems, on each of the positions, both forward, midfield, and defense. They've got some players that maybe leave a little bit left to be desired, but the other guys are certainly carrying the weight. and those are the ones we've just gone over. So it'll be an interesting game to see if we're able to exploit some of the weaknesses. It'll be interesting to see if those players that haven't been stepping up for Tranmere are able to. Again, hope they're not. And also with all of the changes that have been going on, I didn't even mention that from the start. I'll get into that probably tomorrow and some of the bring some of the highlights and talk about the guys that we've had. But lots of movement, lots of changes. Who knows what the lineup for Wrexham's going to be? Haven't heard who's out, because we brought in 3. We had one that had to go out, so that's 4 players for Wrexham that are going to have to be off of our 22 squad list. So it'll be interesting to see what we do there. As is the norm, we're sort of comparing teams to North American sports franchises, and I guess for Tranmere, we're going to call them the Baltimore Orioles. And the reason I say that is they compete in the AL East, and when you've got the Yankees, you've got the Red Sox, you've got the Rays, you've got the Blue Jays. There's some auto rivalries there. There's been some strengths and weaknesses, and there's been teams that have been good or bad. Baltimore's sort of the team that wants to be relevant, and listening to Tranmere fans, that's sort of the sense that I get. They want to be relevant. Baltimore is this year, to be fair. They have their odd kick at the cat, and I'm not saying that Tranmere's never relevant, because that's not true, but sort of infrequently relevant. And as far as Wrexham fans are concerned, it's sort of a ho-hum, let's go, we want to win this one. They're a quasi-rival because of geographical location, but for Tranmere fans, they are chomping at the bit to have their say when it comes to the Disney Club, and so we'll see what happens. Baltimore Orioles. As far as the food, I guess we're going to go with sausage. I mean, if you wanted to have meat on your plate, you're probably going to prefer steak or a nice pork or duck. Nobody really wants the sausage, but every once in a while you get a good one. So we'll see how this one goes tomorrow. If you like this, feel free to subscribe to it, follow along. We're going to be here 4 o'clock in the morning, which means I need to go ahead and have a nap. I'm going to throw this together really quickly. The video quality will be better. I've got a computer upstairs, but just needed to get this one done here because it's got the video editing software that's on it. So this was a fun throw together. I apologize for the nature of it. It is what it is. Thanks, and this is the Red Horde.